Hello and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Apologies for being 2 minutes late. One, I will admit this. I was playing Halo Infinite multiplayer, and I was almost late for my own show, which is bad. I've completed every possible season. The new season drops tomorrow. I cannot wait to get into it. I actually never played a mode. I played Big Team Battle Heavies. I was like, what is that? Is that all tanks? And sure as shit, it's all tanks. It was amazing. And of course, not the old man, had more kills than deaths. So I was doing all right for myself. Not bad. But listen, folks, as it's been like, it almost seems like almost every week that we do this show, we have breaking news. And when we have breaking news, we have a very special family member joining us. Crispy Bomb, what's going on, brother? Listen, whenever the news seems to break, you seem to be available. You're here. Let's talk about it. Pete Hines, after 24 years of working with Bethesda, has announced his retirement. We're going to get into that because obviously that's going to be a big void to fill. Obviously, Todd Howard is still there, but we're going to get into our thoughts and what he has contributed in his 24 years, leaving on a high note with Starfield being the raging success that it is. But good afternoon, sir. How you feeling?
Oh, I'm feeling good. Got up at 1 o'clock this morning, do inventory. So always fun, but it allows me to be here. So that's even better. And somehow we've had all kinds of breaking news lately. I mean, every, Friday or Monday or something, there's always something to just pop up right before we're about to go on, which is just it's interesting. I mean, are you getting you got a little Microsoft little thing going on there, Boom?
A little acquisition of $70 billion and potentially I think a roadmap that is definitely going to prove that Sony has unfortunately rested on their laurels. Folks, if you didn't know, Spider-Man getting good reviews as expected. And we're going to be talking about that probably on Friday because that's when the game, I believe it released on the 20th, which is Friday. Most of the big sites have done the reviews. It is currently sitting at a 90 meta, which is fantastic. But I want to read a lot of the stuff. I'm starting to get some chatter from different DMs that people are sending me about how there are specific sites citing very similar words and very similar scenarios with Starfield versus Spider-Man, and Spider-Man didn't get dinged the same way that Starfield got dinged. Listen, folks, you have to just expect this, right? I cannot wait to play Spider-Man. I'm stopping literally everything, and it's crazy because Sonic releases this week, tomorrow, as a matter of fact. That's getting pretty damn good reviews. Mario Wonder is getting some big chatter. I cannot wait for it. What a week for gaming, like honestly, but we're going to get into, we have, again, next 90 minutes, folks. Strap in, get your lunch or your breakfast, or even if you're dinner, if you're on the other side of the world, and let's get into it. Web Dave, how you feeling, sir? Great show last night. As always, you put out a new interview, which we will get into towards the end of the show. How you feeling?
Feeling great, man. Feeling really, really good. We ended up doing 3 hours last night. So
yeah, you just have to. Yeah, that's what happened with Breakfast at Boom. Yeah, three plus hours.
But I'm so glad to be here today, of course, with my brethren. These guys are amazing. So yeah. Got Fuzzy and got Crispy. Heck yeah.
Yeah, well, and of course, he's not in jail, folks. He's here. He's here. He's here for your pleasure, and we're gonna get some crazy talk from him. We'll get to him in a second. Fuzzy Belvedere. I mean, wow. Talk about Xbox just dominating the conversation.
Yeah.
Not only did they have the Halo championships, not only was Phil Spencer there, not only is the new season 5 releasing tomorrow. You got Forza Motorsport, people are still talking about. Starfield still making the rounds. Backwards compatibility potentially coming back in a big way for all of the ABK stuff. A $70 billion deal, signed, sealed, delivered. Call of Duty is first party. I mean, wow. Talk about a time. This is probably, folks, the best time in Xbox gaming history. You can take your 2007 with when Xbox 360 had some real banger exclusives, i.e. BioShock and Mass Effect and a few others. And I mean, but this has been the year. And, again, we're going to open up with some breaking news. Pete Hine stepping away from Bethesda. But folks, listen, I've been retired since 2014. And like Mrs. Boom and I congratulated Pete today. Yeah, it's great to be retired because I was able to do this now. This is my full-time hobby turned, kind of a job, so to speak. I'm in front of the mic 5 days a week. I love it. It gives me something to do, and I'm here with you. But how you feeling, Fuzzy?
Well, I'm feeling great, and it's still like Xbox Christmas as far as I'm concerned. Although sad to see Pete go, but kind of knew that this would be an eventual thing, kind of thing.
Yes.
Glad he stayed on board to the release of Starfield, but we'll get more into that. But man, oh man, yeah, Xbox is definitely going to be front and center in the news, and with this $70 billion deal, I expect the hit pieces to start rolling out if they haven't already. Well,
we are going to talk about it because
Metro.
they have begun rolling out. Some you expect. Metro does their reader thingamajig, and again, like I said, take Metro. IGN, GameSpot, their Inquirer level, right? So you're always going to read about an alien banging Elvis or something there. That's what you're gonna get at IGN. The Metro, on the other hand, is the best way I can describe it is like when you're walking in Manhattan and you see like those plastic boxes that have gum and stickers all over them that no one really pays attention to, and they have like a magazine or a piece, like a pamphlet you can pull out and read. Well, that's Metro. That's the equivalent of them. They're like the gum that people just stick, like the item that people just stick gum on when they're done with it. So don't pay attention to Metro. We're going to get into some of the things that have been said. The hit pieces are coming. And of course, on the back end, we're going to talk about Phil Spencer, the deal he closed, and how he has become the most influential leader in gaming. You got to remember a couple of years ago when they had that amazing moment where Phil Spencer was standing in the middle, and of course, you had Sony's representation there. You had Nintendo's representation there, and they're gone. And the last one standing is Phil Spencer. And obviously, they're not done. But Crazy Lou Gaming, how are you feeling, sir? Thanks so much for joining us.
Oh man, Mr. Boomstick, I'm feeling wonderful. What a crazy weekend it has been. I mean, I was watching Web Day's show yesterday, which Web Day, great show, by the way. I accidentally put the TV base on backwards. It was a mess, but hey, I put it up, fixed it, and yeah. But hey, loads of fun, lots to talk about. Let's get into it, man, because I got a lot to say today. Woo-hoo!
Yeah, we will definitely get into it. Again, just curiosity. First of all, welcome Tando in the chat. He says, so Jim Ryan isn't allowed to retire. See, I knew this was going to come up, and I'm glad that you brought it up so we can just kind of get this off, get it out of the way. There are two monster differences, Crispy Bomb, between what happened at SIE and PlayStation and Jim Ryan. Jim Ryan was fired. Jim Ryan could say whatever he wants about trips and flyer miles being too much for him to handle. That's fine. Sony is in a conundrum. They are in a tailspin. They don't know who they are anymore. They have nothing for us as gamers for a roadmap. There's the secret sauce show that you guys have been pushing out there for the last 18 months doesn't exist. Okay? The reason why Jimbo is gone is because he bet heavily on his ties in the CMA in the UK, and he made a mockery of what Sony was. And more important than anything, Crispy, he exposed Sony's Achilles heel on how they do business. And from now on, they're going to have to walk a much finer line, because all that has to happen is a regulator to get a bug up their ass, and they're going to say, wait a second, first place, this ain't right. Now, Pete Hines has been with the company for 24 years. He's leaving because he is retiring, right? Now, whether you believe that or not, that's entirely up to you. But we also have to take into account that he stayed along to launch one of the most successful Bethesda games in the history of the company in Starfield. It is breaking numbers to this day. The millions of people that are playing it, that have purchased it, it is the biggest release in the company's history. That is how you retire. Okay? You don't scout out or sneak out the back the way Jim Ryan did. He's in witness protection. That's why we're never going to hear from him again. But we'll get to what Pete Hines had to say in a second. Let's get your hot take on this, Crispy. Jim Ryan versus Pete Hines in the retirement aspect.
Well, I was going to bring it up anyway because I knew somebody was going to say it. Jim has done too many things wrong.
Yes.
He has basically allowed Sony to make a mockery of themselves by him, getting so forceful when it comes to this deal. And it really has come out in all the documents. I mean, we've went over this. We don't even need to really go any further than that. Like, just go read it yourself. Sony is a prideful company. Being a Japanese company, that is like their mainstay. And for you to just lay out there all your cards in public forum under oath, there's a problem there for them, and it failed. So if they blocked it, somehow got it to be blocked, he'd probably still be working there.
Yep.
And that's the way we look at it. And you have to realize that Pete and Todd Howard have like a golden parachute, as we've said about Bobby Kotick as well. They have a lot of shares in Bethesda, and they have earned that money, and they have been, pillars of this gaming community for decades now. And, I wouldn't be surprised at some point Todd decides to go too, but he also is a developer, and his love of gaming is probably the reason why he hasn't done this yet. Pete being more on the PR side, he's probably like, what? Like, Microsoft could take this over, and I can go and travel the world and do things that I never thought I'd be able to do with this slight bag I have from, our sale at the beginning. You know what I mean? So that's where it's like Phil probably convinced them to stay along a little longer. And maybe Todd's like, hey, I'm looking at my next game. I'm not worried about that. And Pete is probably like, oh, there's plenty of Xbox people or somebody else to take my place that might actually be better. And you know what? I really want to just enjoy my time now. And I mean, you could say I'm lying to you, but that's what it feels like. Like, he released Starfield, with the team, and they just looked at it and said, he's like, it could be his wife, it could be whatever. It's just like, hey, can we, 24 years, we got plenty of money. Like, can we do some other stuff? And you just don't know. But I mean, you want to say Jim, hey, he could retire or not? I mean, I just feel it was very abrupt, and it's after multiple peripherals that have failed, price hikes that people don't like, a lot of questionable decisions, like the gas game thing. There's a lot of things. Like, there's nothing with Pete Hines on that. I mean, what are you going to say, that he apologized to Sony players for not being able to play the game? Like, what are we talking about here? So, like, Pete is just like, I'm done, and he's probably still going to show up in some things because, I mean, why not make a little money real quick? Get a little speaking, thing. Like, he's probably going to go and speak to people. You don't know. Like, he's very well spoken, and he knows his stuff. So, I salute that man, and he has been through the ringer, but also rode the ship, and he has earned every penny that he's going to get.
Yeah, indeed. Listen, you know what? Before we bring in Web Dave, I do want to read well, you know what? I'll start with what Bethesda, their announcement. Now, this comes directly from the Bethesda Twitter account, and they say this, folks. Pete Hines, SVP, head of publishing for Bethesda Softworks, has announced his decision to retire. Pete's public presence was only a small part of his role at Bethesda, although the way that he represented us carried over into the values he nurtured here: authenticity, integrity, and passion. His contributions have been integral in building Bethesda and its family of studios into the world-class organization that it is today. His vision helped push us forward, and his hard work has inspired us. We're thankful for his 24 years of leadership and wish him the best in his next chapter. We'll miss you, Pete. Dave, a powerful, absolutely powerful message from Bethesda. I don't expect anything less, to be quite honest with you. And let's get your hot take on this, because obviously, you know, you told me about a certain RD that is pretty much just a giant D. We won't name names here, but you probably know who I'm talking about. Automatically, it's gloom and doom. Bethesda's dead. Bethesda can't release a good game. Well, I don't know. Maybe Starfield isn't a good game to some of you, but you know what it is, what it is. Yes. Is his presence going to be lost? Sure. Is it going to be felt? Potentially. He's a big leader. He's been a leader there for 24 years. Anytime someone steps away, there is a void that is going to be filled by someone. Again, trying to compare Jim Ryan's firing or, you know, / retiring to what Pete Hines is doing is two different fruits. One's a banana, one's a pineapple. Let's get your hot take on this, Dave.
Yeah, definitely. Look, Pete Hines is he's pretty much a legend. He's been there a long time. He has helped make sure that those bangers get across the finish line. You know, was there some kind of misstep with Redfall? Yes. Was it all his fault? No. But that game is turning around. They're working on it because, you know, Microsoft believes in working through problems, you know, like they did with their Sea of Thieves, and now look at it. You know, it's amazing what what it's gone through, and you know how it's perceived today, and how many millions of people play that. So he is, you know, he's going to be missed for sure. I do not think that he was forced out in any way. I mean, dude, I'm looking forward to my retirement. I'm still 6 years away from it, but when it happens, whoo, you'll probably be sick of me here online, because I'll be that old man talking again. Oh Jesus. But yeah, so but no, for him, man, good for him, man. He deserves to take some time off. Is there problems at Bethesda? No. I mean, come on, man. Take a look at them. Starfield is amazing. No matter what the trolls try and tell you. One of the best games, game of the year. Just absolutely unstoppable. But that's okay. They're gonna have you believe that a one and done game can be game of the year. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Long way to go. But no, Pete Hines, good on you, man. Congratulations on retiring, and we'll see what's next for him. Maybe he takes it easy for a while. Maybe he assists. Maybe he does some other things. But he, like he said in his letter, you know, heart's always going to be there with Bethesda. So there you go.
And speaking of which, let's bring in Fuzzy Belvedere. Fuzzy, before we get your hot take on this, I do want to read Pete Hines' letter that he has put out there on his official Twitter account, DC Deacon, or at DC Deacon on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it. This is what Pete Hines had to say officially in his goodbye. After 24 years, I have decided my time at Bethesda Softworks has come to an end. I am retiring and will begin an exciting new chapter of my life, exploring interests and passions, donating my time where I can, and taking more time to enjoy life, as he should. This was not a decision I came to easily or quickly, but after an amazing career, culminating in the incredible launch of Starfield, it feels like the time is right. And why not go off on a high note, folks? This is certainly not goodbye by any means. My love of Bethesda and its people has never wavered. I will never stop being a part of this incredible community we have grown. Thank you to the hundreds and thousands of fans I've gotten to meet and talk to over the last 24 years. Your energy, creativity, and support has been such a big part of my journey. I look forward to experiencing the next part of that adventure alongside you. Working with these amazing people, teams, and studios at Bethesda has been the greatest experience of my life. I'm incredibly proud of everything we have done together, and I'm genuinely excited to see the amazing things that will be created next. Love you guys, Pete. Listen, again, another heartfelt, powerful message. The first one, of course, comes the way of Bethesda Softworks. Now this comes directly from Pete Hines. And I think the finite point, Fuzzy, is going out on a high note. And I don't think, listen, Elder Scrolls 6, Fuzzy, is going to be on a next level. The next Fallout is going to potentially be even better. But those are years away. Now, again, if you look at, some of these leaders, they're getting a little older. Nobody wants to retire when you're 80 years old. You know how much left you got left in the tank. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think that by him actually saying that, it should, at least, it does for me. I don't know. I can't speak for anyone in the chat right now, but it should tell you that he is being genuine. Why would you want to go out on a low note? He released Starfield, one of the most successful games in the company's history, Fuzzy. That is how you go out. You go out smiling from ear to ear. You put the work in, 24 years. Let's talk about it.
Well, for me, I'm probably going to have a controversial look on this, but I love
controversy, so by all means, go crazy here.
I could tell from the minute the announcement that Xbox was looking to acquire Bethesda, he was the guy that was not on board from day one.
Okay, that's strong point.
And it's not just the apology to PlayStation. A person in his position, he was comfortable in his job prior, and he had demanded respect and got it, and had a lot of control. So to get into that acquisition standpoint probably made him feel a certain way inside, as far as well, I might be considered somewhat redundant, even though they had it where they were independent. But you could see between the process of Redfall and Starfield, Xbox was definitely leaking into their normal day-to-day stuff. And I don't think he had a major problem with it, but it was a different experience. Like, if you've been doing something a certain way for 20 plus years and now it's changed, yeah, you got that big bag of cash because he, probably had a decent amount of shares from, being where his position within that company prior to the acquisition. But I'm pretty sure they convinced him, hey, don't leave just yet. Because a lot of times the guys that are higher up, once they get that bag, they're usually out the door. Like, look at Undead Labs, although that's a little bit different situation because the guy had some other issues outside of HR related things in the office. But a lot of times you'll see these guys get that golden parachute. They stay on a year because they're asked politely, come on, we want to make sure the integration of the team and blah, blah, blah. And then usually they quietly go off into the sunset. And I think this is kind of tied into that. Like, you definitely want to go out on a high note. Starfield definitely is that high note for his legacy, as well as that studio that he's been growing up through for the past 20 plus years. So I think that's one of the key things. And I'm pretty sure some of the not necessarily feedback, but maybe some of the bad press on Redfall probably got to him a bit. And it's not like before where, okay, when it's just Bethesda, he doesn't really have that many people above him. I mean, there was the one guy, unfortunately, that had passed prior, but he was more of like the top guy. So the buck kind of stopped at his door. So he didn't really have to have the crap roll downhill to him type of thing as much. Now it's a little bit different story under the acquisition. And if you've been the top dog for 20 plus years, and now you got somebody that's above you that's like, hey, we gotta make sure this stuff doesn't happen again. I've been in that position, and it makes you feel like, well, crap, I don't really need to be here anymore. I got 20 plus years. I got this bag waiting for me at the end. Let me just do things that are less stressful, type of thing. But kudos to him for sticking in there. Well after the acquisition, kudos to him for all that he's done for Bethesda, as well as from the time of the acquisition with through Xbox and Bethesda, working together. But I kind of saw this coming. And I'm not trying to make a prediction, but I see Todd leaving after Elder Scrolls. Like, I figure he's going to stay on board the longest, probably because that's his next baby. Like, Starfield is his baby, because that was the idea that he originally created in his own, head type of thing. Fallout and Elder Scrolls were always kind of like handed to him to, kind of mold into his ideas and things like that. But I think Elder Scrolls 6 is where, within the year after that, he'll probably, go off into the sunset, and that'll be another high note that he can leave on type of thing. But with Pete, I'm just glad he stayed on for Starfield. I don't think there's any harsh feelings, but when you're top dog and you're not necessarily top dog quite as much as you were before, it's probably time to step away, especially if you had like one hiccup, because you don't want to have like be the guy that it kind of falls on if there is another hiccup. If Arcane's next game doesn't quite land well, or if the was it Alpha Dog or one of the smaller teams doesn't deliver quite what is expected, you don't want to necessarily have to sit in that meeting that you used to be the one that would run the meeting kind of thing. So I don't think he was forced out in any way. I just think it was, and if anything, I think they probably asked him to, definitely stay on board as long as he could. And I think this is like the perfect time for him to kind of step away and refocus, focus on his family and his other passions outside of, being in that office and stuff like that. Now, if he winds up somewhere like PlayStation, then there might be some other, other dirt or controversy behind the scenes that we don't know about. But I don't think that's going to be the case. I think it's just a matter of he stayed in there for Starfield because it was an all hands on deck type of thing. He was pretty much the go-to guy for a lot of the behind the scenes on that, integrating the other help that Bethesda had from Xbox Studios and whatnot. But it's sorry to see him go, but it's understandable, and wish him the best on whatever he plans on doing from here forward.
Yeah, and I agree. I think I think everyone had made fantastic points so far. I like your theory, and something you might be on to. Something that many people will not think about, because like I said, he said what he said during the trial. And obviously when, it was confirmed that Starfield was not going to be a PlayStation, he apologized for gamers. I don't know how that sat with the rest of Microsoft, because, you got to understand, they're investing in your business. They get to decide who should get it. And I don't think Sony should get anything the way Sony would not give anything to Microsoft. That's just a fact. But I got, again, after 24 years, I'm happy he's retiring. And what he's done up until now has been nothing short of amazing. Obviously, he is going out on the highest of high notes. A game that was been in development that saw several delays. And there's so many systems working in this. Obviously, if he goes after Redfall, you're like, yeah, that's not such a great way, because Redfall, even though it's running good now, they still got a lot of work to do. But you leave on the high note of Starfield, that's phenomenal. Yeah. No better way to leave, in my opinion. Crazy Lou Gaming. Let's get your hot take on this, brother, because this came as a bit of a shock, and not so much for a lot of people. And like I said, what Fuzzy had to say was pretty interesting. I'm of course interested to hear what your theory is on this.
Man, Mr. Boomstick, Fuzzy took my idea. He took my idea. Damn you, Fuzzy. You took my idea. Because I gotta say this. I'm gonna be the same way as Fuzzy. Is controversial all the way. Why retire now? It's okay. 24 years, all right. I understand all the cool stuff, and you're retiring right now, especially after Jim retired. Could this mean that he could be the next head of Sony?
Oh boy.
I have a feeling he could be because, in his retirement letter, he says, I will always be a part of this loving community. I love you all to death and all this stuff, right? Could it mean that he's going to be the next head of Sony? Because, hey, they are searching. Could it be? I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it, especially like how Fuzzy mentioned it, what he said in the trial. I do not doubt he has a heart interest in Sony. I don't have a doubt about it. And hey, it could be his next job. And let me tell you something. If he gets hired, he's not a bad hire. I mean, because he's a guy that loves games. He's a guy who's going to polish games. Not like what Jim did. When Crispy said he did a bad job. Crispy, I don't agree with you, Crispy. He did an awesome job. Jimbo's the man. No, I'm just kidding. He did not do nothing. Jimbo was messy. Jimbo was messy, man. Sorry, Jimbo was real messy, and that's the post-retirement, man. Don't fall for that now. He got his butt kicked out of that door. But yes, I have a feeling, like what Fuzzy said, PlayStation, he said it kind of quietly, though, but I'm saying it out loud. I feel like PlayStation is going to hire him and put him right there on the spot. That's what I got to say about Pete Hines.
I will give you credit, sir, if you are correct. I would just say that.
Hey, it can happen. Why not? It can happen.
Especially right now. It would be shocking. It would definitely be. I'll put it this way: if Sony did snag him up, I mean, hypothetically, that's a big hire. He knows how to run the business, right? He's done it for a very long time. Sony's in a bit of a tailspin right now, and I know Tando, not let us forget that Sony's in first place. No one's denying that, dude. They're in first place by leaps and bounds, but that's today, October 16th. When we come back next year at this time,
can I throw something out there?
Please, by all means.
It's in first place because of Sean Layden. Let's be honest, guys. Let's be honest. It's in first place because of Sean Layden. Nobody else. That's the truth.
No, it is true. Look, we don't know where Pete Hines is going to go. He didn't. It's his life. He wants to retire. Let him enjoy himself. If he wants to pick up, doing this business all over again somewhere new, good on him. And if it's at PlayStation, good for PlayStation because they're getting a real winner of someone to potentially take over for Jim Ryan. But you got to remember, it's a big position. They're in a transition. The one thing I will say about your theory is that Pete Hines understands games as a service because he obviously did them with Bethesda. Now, I don't know if you consider yourself retiring if you're going to jump into something so stout of a position. Taking over PlayStation is big, but hey, you never know. Look, at the end of the day, we all wish him well. Obviously, he did a lot of amazing things. He could not have gone out on a better high note than releasing one of Bethesda's most successful, biggest launch games or IPs in history. And it's a new IP on top of that. It's not a beloved IP that everyone knew about, like an Elder Scrolls or a Fallout. Starfield is a new IP, and to leave on that high note, you could not be more happy for him personally. So I do want to get into some of the media bias that we're starting to see. So let me cue this up because obviously we're going to get into the Phil Spencer situation on the back end. I mean, this is expected, folks. None of this is shocking to me. Let me just cue it up over here. Some of the stuff that we're starting to see. Where is it here? Well, first of all, Jeff Keighley, obviously. We all know Jeff. Now, whether you like him, you hate him, you love him. I like Jeff. I like Jeff when Jeff is being, a proper representative of the industry, not a PlayStation fanboy. But listen, like I said, I'm a big fan of the Game Awards. I do like what they do there each and every year. Soon as this was announced, he put out a poll. Basically, this comes the way of Astal on Twitter. He says Xbox's acquisition of Activision Blizzard King is indeed a good thing for the gaming industry and gamers. Hashtag Activision Blizzard Microsoft. And Jeff Keighley put out a tweet that says basically this: do you think Xbox's acquisition of Activision Blizzard King is a good thing for the gaming industry and its gamers? 47% voted yes. 34% said no. 19% stayed undecided. And just FYI, it's pretty epic, the number. 117,147 were the total participants of the community. 117,174. Pretty fitting, with Master Chief being 117. Just for context here, right? And this is big numbers, Crispy Bomb. Aaron Greenberg tweeted out. Now, everyone that is anyone saw the welcome to Xbox video that they put out there. And I say they, of course, Microsoft. And it was epic. I've watched it half a dozen times, maybe even a couple times more than that. Watching other people's shows play it gives me goosebumps each and every time, because it really does depict how big Xbox has gotten. But Aaron Greenberg put this out here and it blew me away. Like, these are like PlayStation level kind of views when it comes to like these types of videos. And Aaron Greenberg put this out there that particular welcome to Xbox video has seen 25 million plus views. And this was as of October 15th. So I don't know if it's closer to 30 now, but Crispy, he says this: 25 million views and growing. Thank you to all of you. What an exciting future ahead. Hashtag Team Xbox. This is big. Now, obviously, we are getting some detractors here, and I'm trying to find it. And I apologize for not having it queued up, because normally I do have it queued up of what I sent. But the media bias is starting. Metro put out a couple of articles. PC Gamer, or PC Mag, whatever they're called, the one that's owned by the parent company of IGN, put out a pretty distasteful post, and I'm just trying to find it here. Just give me a second. Let me see. Where is it? For the love of Joe, man, do I hate when I do this. I'll come to. Oh yeah, here it is. Okay, here it is. Now this doesn't surprise me, folks. This, again, PC Gamer. Well, they were very prominent to let you know about 17,000 times that they gave Starfield a 7. Listen to this shenanigans. Microsoft celebrates its conquest of Activision and the triumph of capitalism with a montage video that mashes up Modern Warfare, Halo, Diablo, Starfield, and more. Could you have put out a more laughable title? Which, of course, I didn't click on it because I'm not reading their shit. But this was just a salvo. I would imagine that this is going to be Fast and Furious, because I recall several articles from several journalists from several big sites, Crispy, asking Microsoft to compete. You guys need to compete. You need to be better. Well, they've gotten 1,000 times better since 2018. Let's talk about it.
Well, let's be honest here. I mean, I believe there's a lot of Sony fanboys over there. The way that sounded at that point. I mean, you look at how people talk. It's a plastic box. It runs games. For the love of God, why are you so invested in such a thing? I mean, seriously. It's like when somebody argues with me about Apple or fucking Samsung for a phone, and I'm like, I really don't care. I've had both. The Apple seems to run better over time. I like to keep my phones for a long time. I have an iPhone 11. Like it still runs pretty darn good. I'm just saying. So I've had Samsung phones that don't run as good for this period of time. That's really what I look at as a consumer. Like I invest in things that are going to do something for me, but I'm not going to sit here and act like they care about me at all. I was going to say something else, but I'm trying to keep the swear words down to a minimum. That's the one thing. Like, you look at how they're acting, and they're acting the same way. You know what I mean? Like, I just saw people being like, IGN put out an 8 for Spider-Man. Well, I guess every AAA game's an 8, and maybe they're trying to save face, or they really just look at every AAA game as an 8, and that's it. Because I don't understand.
Questions.
I don't understand how these sites like think that like you're being objective. Like, Starfield in no way, shape, or form deserves a 7. And then you bring out hit pieces after about this acquisition. And as a consumer, I say, okay, well, I haven't played a lot of Call of Duties, a lot of them. Like I literally played like the originals, and then I stopped playing Call of Duty. I was actually more of a Medal of Honor fan back then. But that's where it's like some of us old heads that, have been gaming for 20 plus years are like, okay, this is old. I'm done with it. Like, I haven't bought a Madden in years. Like, all these regurgitations, and people always said Halo, Forza, Gears, and I look at them like, dude, like there's games like all these Nintendo people, like, dude, there's like how many iterations of Mario, how many iterations of Zelda? You know what I'm saying? Like, why is it always got to be about Xbox? And that's because they get the clicks. It's clickbait. Jeff Keighley, like most of his followers, the majority, like I'm surprised it wasn't the opposite. It wasn't the 40% to, 30%, in the opposite that says no to yes. It's like, come on, dude. Like, what are you talking about here? We know that a majority of PlayStation people follow you. You know what I mean? Like, so this is a win, in my opinion. I mean,
yep.
How is this hurting gaming? It's not. And these articles keep coming out, and they're hit pieces. It hasn't even started yet. Like, what are we talking about here? Like, literally, they went through hoops to get through this regulatory process. They went through hoops. They were jumping through fire, man. Like, come on. Like, you got to realize that Microsoft is saying, you know what? We're not gonna beat around the bush. I mean, they even got Bobby Kotick on CNBC, speaking PR speak. When this guy's unfiltered and he's an a-hole, okay? But he's literally on there like praising the CMA for being so good, even though like the question was like how you felt when they're saying that you didn't do this, and this. And he didn't go and say, hey, like, like that's not what happened, which I mean, Bobby of all people, you'd be like, yeah, he would say that. You know what I mean? He sat there for like a second. It's almost like Phil's in his head now. And it's like, yeah, let me just get my golden parachute and walk out the door and I'm good. But that's the point. And you look at what Sony's been doing, and it's like, this, and this are not good. Like, who's talking about VR2? I mean, I don't even see people talking about Spider-Man 2, and I don't block people, Boom.
Dude, I said the same exact thing. Like I said, anyone could watch the show. I've been pushing Spider-Man 2 that's going out of style. Like I honestly can't wait to play it. Like
You
I'm
talked about it more than these PlayStation fans.
And
Come on,
that's literally what I was going to go to. Isn't that sad? Like I'm more excited for this game than actual PlayStation diehards. That's crazy to me.
And I just put out a tweet. I saw like I know that the score may have went down or went up, but it said 91. And I said, congratulations to Insomniac. They released another banger.
Yeah.
They are a great. That is the best acquisition Sony has ever made and will ever make.
Yep.
And I wish Xbox did it, but I'm a gamer, man. I don't hate when somebody's doing something success. That's why in past shows, I've said, do not review bomb this. It's not worth it.
Exactly.
Let them have their day. But I don't see any of these Sony guys like, hey, like this is the greatest thing in the world. And it's like, okay, like as long as you're not trashing it, it's always got to be about Xbox. Why? Why does it always have to be about Xbox? Why do these media outlets always have to be about Xbox?
Because the hate is real, my friend.
It drives engagement.
Yes.
For some damn reason, you guys need to stop clicking on it. Like if you're an Xbox fan, just don't even touch it. I see them while I'm scrolling, and I'm like, nope, I ain't touching that. That is clickbait. That's clickbait. Like that's the way you got to look at it. But there are like it's going to be hit pieces for the next like year. I guarantee it. Like there's, I mean, IGN's still like like regurgitating stuff that they did like months ago. Like, come on, like you guys, you don't have nothing better to do. You want to hire me? I can write some stuff for you. You know what I'm saying? Like seriously, like I was gonna go to school for journalism, by the way. So I'm just saying, like, if you need some help, I'll take a bag and I'll quit my meat cutting job. You know what I mean? Like busting my butt every day, getting sick all the time because people just walk around coughing all over everybody else. Like that's what happens at my job. Okay. So I will take sitting at home and typing up an essay, or that's what I consider an essay is an article because it's like multiple paragraphs and that's it. But some of these guys just they type it out and then you don't proofread it. You're just like you're in that much of a rush. I don't believe that for a second.
Yeah.
You just said, "Oh, this is good enough. Oh, this is hitting the narrative that we want to hit as a the company that I'm in." And that's it. Well, I mean, if you're not going to take my thought process into consideration rather than who's paying us, well, I'm not going to do it then. I'll go to somebody else. Because, I mean, we have articles all over the place. But lately it feels like, it's just retweet and regurgitate the same things or just crap on Microsoft.
Yeah.
And it's pretty sad. It really is. So we'll see what happens. But I think, the next COD, when Microsoft's actually involved, and especially after Redfall, I'm going to tell you right now, Redfall was a lesson. And what did Phil
100%.
say?
Yeah, absolutely.
What did Phil say? We should have brought in the A-team. We should have brought in the A-team. Do you know why? Because there is an A-team. There are a few studios that are support studios. The Coalition, freaking, you got multiple studios. id Software, they do that for Bethesda. You got a lot of studios that have devs that just work on other games to help other games, whatever that may be. So you look at that and you say, that's okay. Like having new eyes on a situation saying, hey, this doesn't look the way I think it should look. And then y'all have a conversation rather than, being a fanboy about it and being like, no, you can't touch that. I mean, come on. But it's getting ridiculous that they continue to just go after Xbox. And I think it's because of the clicks. That's it.
It's fine. You know what? Eventually, they're going to bend the knee, and I really mean that in the best way possible. There is going to come a point where Microsoft and Xbox are so big, they have so many bangers. They literally are releasing 6 to 8 AAA games per year. The media eventually is going to have to return to the days of the Xbox 360 because, again, now it's an even playing field. Sony's in first place, Nintendo's in second place, Microsoft's still in third. They're not going to be there for much longer. That's a temporary hold. Dave, let's get your hot take on what you are expecting from the potential plethora of negative stories about this deal for Microsoft. Because again, PC Mag is just one of them. Take it with a grain of salt. Metro, trash, nonsense. People out there, putting their opinions in. They're not even good writers, which makes it even worse. Why would you print that and put that a part of your actual newspaper? But fine, whatever. What are your thoughts on this, man? Are you like me? Do you believe that Microsoft and Xbox are going to get so good and so big that they're just not going to be able to be denied?
Yeah, they're definitely not going to be able to sidestep the Xbox ecosystem as it continues to grow and dominate. And look, I think all of us here have a PlayStation and have played, some great games. Some of us are looking forward to Spider-Man. Some of us aren't. But we'll just leave it at that. But that's and that's cool. But man, the media is clearly, in the pocket of Sony because it's not so much like, oh, Sony pays them. No, it's so much so that the market leader means that there's more consoles sold. So to them, their viewing audience is PlayStation centric, meaning that they are, going after the money is really all it is to it. And that's what a lot of the bias. Now, there's obviously some others that are bitter for whatever reason, that Microsoft is making these moves and is continuing to grow because they like the way how easy it has been for them for a while. And they're going to have to work at it. They're going to have to actually write some real stories and come up with some real facts instead of, just shooting the same old garbage and, hashing and stuff. Just, they might actually have to do some work is what it is. What it is.
You mean actual journalism?
Exactly.
Potentially actually write something creative and use their brain pan instead of course, hate narrative that seems to be the case. Exactly.
And that's and a lot of them are just, but eventually it's going to come to that because the market is going to swing. I mean, is Microsoft going to be number one overnight? No. Are they going to get to number one? Hopefully, eventually. But I definitely think that number two could be in their sights. I mean, there could be a whole shift change, could be a whole flip flop. You just never know. But the, ABK deal getting done is, it's a big thing. And, there are a lot of people trying to poo poo it, or now that it's done, the demo for Call of Duty was garbage. Was it? Really? 2 weeks ago, you were so excited for the new Call of Duty, and then now it's Microsoft owns it, and time for us to play something else. Okay, cool. Have fun with that. And it is sad in a way that but in another way, it's like, just hold on. It's they're not done yet, so it's going to continue to grow, and hopefully we're going to get some kind of round table or some kind of press release in the next couple of days, maybe announcing a few titles coming into Game Pass. Maybe we've heard some rumors that might happen. Just to kind of start getting the ball rolling, as it were. But Phil said he's going around to all the studios, every single one of them, having meetings with each studio, and that's a lot of studios and a lot of people that he's going to get in front of, and not just dial them up on the phone. He's road tripping. He's going to
be in person. Yeah, no conference calls, in person, shaking your hand, meeting the team, sitting down with people. Well, that's what a good leader does, and we're going to get into what kind of a leader he is and how big of a deal this ABK acquisition is, and where it really does place Phil in the leadership in gaming, not just for Xbox, not just from Microsoft, but I'm talking about in gaming in general. Fuzzy, before I bring you in, let me catch up on the super chats. There's been quite a few of them. Adidas20 drops the first $5 super chat of the day, and he says Uncle Phil doing for Xbox is only the beginning. Or what Uncle Phil is doing for Xbox is only the beginning. What's up, CB, Web, and Panel? Brother, thank you so much for being here, and thank you for the generosity. As always, Drawn TJ, generous friend of the program, drops an outstanding $2 super chat and says, morning, guys. Is Sega next? Potentially. Someone in Japan. A publisher is next for certain. Sith Lord, generous friend of the program, drops an outstanding $2 super chat and says, Queen Sarah and General King said, advance the line. And boy, oh boy, what a show for the Iron Lords yesterday. Another epic, listen, it's King David, it's Cognito, it's Addict, it's Sovereign. What do you expect? I mean, they had Tom Warren of The Verge on, who dropped some really, really big nuggets. I was in there for about the first 90 minutes, and then, obviously the weekend, it's Mrs. Boom's time, so I jumped out to hang out with her. But great show there, and of course, shout out to Kay Asante, Everborn Saga, on the Gaming Circle podcast this past Saturday, folks. 5.5 hours in length. Holy moly. I jumped in early because obviously my nephew Tyler and my sister-in-law were over. And, on the weekend, it's all about family for me. So I was very happy to be a part of that. But record-breaking numbers for him. Over 500 people in the chat. Could not be happier with the way that he's doing his business over there at the Gaming Circle podcast. But Highlander 001 drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, afternoon, Boom and Panel. Know who did not like the announcement trailer? Ponies did not like the announcement trailer, and it reminds them of what they will not get. I mean, he's not wrong, to be honest with you. But, I mean, if you were an Sony-only player, maybe the best place to kind of play in, both waters is Xbox now. I mean, obviously, if you want to pay $76.43 if you're in New Rochelle, New York, like I am, for the next Call of Duty, Microsoft will take your money. But if you want to just pay your $16.99 a month and get that plus everything else that we know is coming, come to Team Xbox. We're inviting, we're welcoming. The water is nice and warm. Cotton candy machines on every corner. It's the best place to be. I mean, just check it out. Let's see. We have Gamer by Choice. What's going on, my brother? Hopefully you are doing well. He drops a very generous $5 super chat and says ABK is the catalyst to Microsoft possibly trying to unseat Sony PlayStation in the future, and this scares our hoofed brothers, fans, and journalists alike. Yes, indeed, it does. It is a scary disposition for the media, who has taken some really egregious, nasty shots at Xbox the last, 5 or 7 years. And their cash cow in Sony, well, it might be drying up. And they're going to have to tuck their tails between their legs, as cowards do, and go back and kiss the ring. And I cannot wait to see the positive press that comes the way of the egregious places like IGN and GameSpot, who just have for years used hate mongering to sell their trash. And that is why I don't support them. Now, granted, not everyone at IGN is trash, because they're not. There are human beings that work there, but that corporation could suck it. Sorry. And you know what? At the end of the day, they have shown their true colors, but eventually they will bend the knee. Gerald Mack drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, this ABK deal is cruel and unusual punishment for the blue team. It forces them to give bad reviews to games they love. Ha ha ha, I laugh. Indeed, Gerald, grand champion of the graybeards. I shave, so you don't see my graybeard, but yeah, we're old. Mac, thank you, brother. Super appreciate that. Drawn TJ drops an additional, very generous $5 super chat and says, Sony is the redheaded stepchild that is being dragged by Phil Spencer saying that you are going to like it, aka Chimp. My goodness. And Fantas Archer, generous friend of the program, drops an outstanding $5 super chat and says, people are jealous of Microsoft's money earning abilities. I bet Microsoft could quit consoles, release games for PlayStation, and Sony still wouldn't reach $3 trillion. Yeah, I mean, it's two different companies. There's no doubt about that. Fuzzy Belvedere, let's bring you in on. You're going to have a very interesting take. We were talking in the green room. You have some thoughts and theories to the hate mongering that could wreak its ugly head in the next couple of weeks. Let's talk about it.
Oh yeah, I kind of saw this from the acquisition of Bethesda, but ever since the talk of ABK came out, you could tell a lot of these media journalists that are more PlayStation centric, grew up on PlayStation, PS1, PS2, PS3. They're the I would say the predominant voice in the gaming media, so they're going to come up with these nonsensical topics. Like some of them, like we said earlier, are just like the Inquirer level type stuff. Like I tend to think of like Metro as like that toilet paper that gets stuck to your shoe kind of thing. But yeah, they want to say it's reader pieces, but I nearly bet it's some of their own writers, or it could be their readers as well, because they're going to nurture that type of environment where it's more of like the toxic PlayStation fan. Be like, oh, Xbox wasted their money already kind of thing because the beta is trash. It's like, come on, really? But I expect more hit pieces and for them to be more frequent, at least until the numbers show that there's more people playing Call of Duty on Xbox than there is on PlayStation, or more people pre-ordered Grand Theft Auto on Xbox than they did on PlayStation. So the moment that happens, you're going to magically see a switch flicked from a lot of these journalists. Some of them, you've already seen them lighten their stance on Xbox, but the majority of them probably won't do it until they quote unquote have to, kind of thing, because you don't want to crap on what is eventually going to become more of a leading platform, at least depending on the region that you're in. Like I suspect in the US, Xbox will take the lead here within 2 years, if not less. As far as in Europe, might take a little bit longer. But in the grand scheme of things, I've called it before, where I'm just waiting for more articles about the AA batteries in a controller in 2023, or the Series S is a potato again. Because there were already outlets doing like 5 posts on Twitter, 5 new posts, not just retweeting their original. No, 5 new posts to the same article that they did 2 months ago about the Series S being a potato. And it's like, really, is this how you gauge or garner engagement? Like, do you have to keep on retweeting the silly stuff? But the minute that silly stuff happens over at PlayStation, like, charging for a stand, which yes, I get it. I'm one of those knuckleheads that bought the vertical stand for the PS4 that I had. I don't think I ever used it, which is the craziness behind it. It was like, oh yeah, I'll get the stand, and then wound up just having it horizontal the entire time. But nobody's really going into that, as far as like, other than like podcasters and whatnot, where Sony is now squeezing more money out of you. They're making sure they get more out of you. I mean, and in many cases, most companies, if you buy, like, let's say there's a digital and a physical, digital/physical version versus a digital version of a console, a lot of times they're going to make sure, if you do that upgrade, if it's something that you can attach later, that they're going to make a little bit of money off of you. And usually that window is somewhere between the $5 to $15 range, not almost like an extra like $30 or something like that when it's all said and done. But PlayStation is going to be PlayStation. It's for the payers, as I always say it. But
yeah, no, unfortunately, it's you're not wrong. They nickel and dime you left, right, and center, man. They really do. And the stands situation was just another it's just been a really ugly year for PlayStation. 2023 has definitely been, again, I don't care if Spider-Man's 100 out of 100. It is not going to take away some of the egregious things that have gone on.
Yeah.
And that is why Jim Ryan is no longer the leader. And that is why that the leadership has been taken over by Sony proper, not anybody at SIE. That tells you that there are some serious bad mojo over at SIE. But you know, that's a horse of another color for another show.
Oh, and the gaming media is not really talking about it. They're like,
No, they are
"See you,
not.
Jim, don't leave." But you know, if it was somebody at like Microsoft, like I'm just waiting for all the hit pieces about Pete leaving. I'm waiting for hit pieces about there's a quest line leader that's leaving Bethesda as well. They're going to be like, "Oh, is there trouble at Bethesda?" No, that it happens on a regular basis where studios will lose some of the people to other studios. And the funny thing is, there's a handful of people I've seen on that post on, I guess you could call it X now, formerly Twitter, where they bounce from the initiative to I think Undead Labs and then to Coalition for one guy. Then he went to like Activision for like something to do with Treyarch. Then he came back to another Xbox studio, and then now I think he's working for like a smaller team that did Chivalry 2 type of thing. So there's a lot of people that bounce around that aren't like the heads of studios. Just because a lot of times in these industries, the more you move around and become more of an expert in that field, the more you can garner in your paycheck. Like you're only going to get so much if you stay at one place, unless you're already in the top position for so long. But if you take your experience and possibly get more of a head position at somewhere else or more of a lead position than your current role, you stand to make that, you know, extra 5K or 50K, depending on the jump in comparison, moving around. So a lot of people do that. And it's not just the gaming industry, it's in a lot of other industries as far as when it's like office, you know, related stuff. So the media right now, they're going to show their true colors as far as their disdain for Xbox. At some point, it'll start to change because as traffic slows down for those sites that hate on Xbox versus the ones that, you know, cheer and kind of do what they do for Sony and those start to grow, then you'll see a change. But for right now, yeah, just be prepared for the battery and the controller, Potato Series S. I mean, they can't do the Xbox has no games. I mean, even if only half the studios put out a game every 5 years, I mean, that's more than what PlayStation's done.
Well,
as
it's
far
funny
as first
because
party for the past couple of years. So yeah,
you were saying, you know, you said studios. I kind of want to just be, by the way, while I was doing some housework today, because, you know, that's what I do when I'm not podcasting and working out, is I was listening to Mav and you guys on Friday night show, and Pong Soul had said it, and they have 44 studios now, folks. I want that to sink in. Like, they have 44 studios. Now, 34 of those 44 are actual named studios. The rest are, you know, support studios, you know, within Blizzard and within the other, you know, Treyarch and Infinity Ward. But they have 40 right now, today, the 16th of October, Microsoft, or specifically Xbox, has 44 studios. Like, you don't think, like, I know that Phil Spencer has said it a couple of times, and we'll talk about this, I guess, once we get into a regular cadence, that they were trying to hit, you know, one per quarter. To suggest that is probably the least that they're going to be able to put out. I'm thinking more 6 to 7 per year.
mm-hmm.
Sony, it's folks. Sony's in a pickle. You know, they're in trouble. Crazy Lou Gaming. Let's get your ideology on the hate brigade that is apparently starting to wreak its ugly head in the gaming media. You know, the people are saying that we as fans are championing capitalism and Microsoft is just engulfing the industry as a whole. This industry is so big. Anyone that says that is just a boob. Sorry. Studios come out with every other day with a new game, and sometimes that game no one finds it, and sometimes like a Fortnite, you know, or an Apex Legends, it just takes off. That's just the way it is. This industry is vast. It's huge. Microsoft has positioned themselves, and I know that Fongso had said that they're like a pinch away from the moat that he talked about, where Xbox could logistically be their own thing and not worry about what's going on in the industry. They can finish that off with maybe a Sega acquisition, which I still think is next. But let's get your hot take on the media. I mean, I think it's safe to say, Crazy Lou Gaming, we kind of expected this.
Of course we did. I mean, that's what they do. They get all these garbage out just to get those clickbaits because that's what they love to do. Let's talk bad about Xbox. But like how Fuzzy said, and he stole my idea again, but it's okay, Fuzzy, I love you. But man, hey, nobody's talked about the whole Sony thing. I even posted a tweet saying that the damn digital PS5 costs even more than the physical PS5 Slim. Oh my God. I mean, nobody's talking about that. Nobody's talking about like the accessory that's going to be sold apart. I mean, I'm still wondering how much is the damn paperclip going to cost in the future, though, because that's got to be pretty much money. That thing costs $30. That paperclip probably going to cost like $20. I don't know, because they're taking the money out of these guys and they don't go out and complain. Nobody talks about what Sony is doing. Just Xbox, everything bad with Xbox. I mean, I sat down and I read the Metro UK review. I mean, talking about Call of Duty, saying that Microsoft wasted $69 billion on buying.
Yeah, that guy's banned. I just banned him. He also said Spider-Man 2 is going to outsell Call of Duty. Banned.
When I saw that and I read about it, I mean, he was talking about, oh, I love Call of Duty back in the 360 days. What happened to the last gen though? Didn't you love it? Because all you mentioned is 360 days, but nothing happened last gen. Weren't they good at last gen? Oh, but no. Now let's talk negative about it. Let's just trash it. Let's go throw it. Let's say everything wrong about it. I played the new Call of Duty and I loved it. I mean, okay, I noticed that there's a few bugs. It's a damn demo. It's just a demo. It's just what do you expect? I mean, you want it to be perfect? What do you want it to be smooth? I mean, of course, it's going to be a little bit of issues. That's why they put out the demo so they can see the issues, see how it goes, and then go back in and fix it. That's what they do, right? Or better. I mean, that's what it is. Better. Yeah, they go in there, check it, fix, before the game's release. And hey, we were mentioning on where are their games? I mean, a couple podcasters that do PlayStation podcasting, they have mentioned where are your games, Sony? I mean, where the heck are they? And the media does not talk about it. I saw that. Either.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions being asked by several people in the gaming community, specifically like PlayStation podcasts. Are like, what's going on with Sony?
It's incredible. It's incredible. Nobody's talking about that. It's like are they scared to go out there and talk bad about Sony? Is Sony's gonna forget to give them that nice, beautiful, so juicy, full of money suitcase? Are they afraid they're not gonna receive that suitcase anymore? I mean, what the hell? What are you scared about? I mean, let's be honest. Let's go out there and let's plummet this thing, because let me tell you something, and this is the truth. You guys trash Xbox. Yes, you've been trashing Xbox since Xbox One. Look what they're doing. They're retaliating. That's what you did. You pushed and pushed and pushed. Fanboys pushed. Everybody pushed. And look, now they're retaliating. Look how it is. Why don't we do the same thing with Sony? Because, hey, I want Sony to be good. I want Sony to be great. I want Sony to be like how it was back in the day when Shaw Layden was heading it. Not Jim's, man. Not Jim. Jim messed this whole thing up. But let's jump into that. Let's start discussing that. Let's show them that we're mad at them for what they're doing to that company, because we love their games. I mean, so what you mentioned, Mr. Bruce, you mentioned Spider-Man. Nobody's talking about Spider-Man. It's incredible. Nobody's talking about it. Oh, it got a good review. Now everybody's like, oh, it's good. They're spitting out quality and quantity, a whole bunch of crap. But that's the only thing they're spitting out. But for the last month, wait, how much is it? It's been since the E3? Since E3 till now, it's all been trash talking Xbox. Trash talking Xbox. The deal is done, right? I mean, on Friday, I woke up that morning. I was wearing, my Superman tights, running around the house, getting things ready for the construction, all that stuff. And I see the news. I'm like, oh, I was super happy. I was super excited. I was like, what? It happened today? I was waiting it to happen this week. I mean, this announcement I was waiting for this week, but it happened on Friday. Super excited, super happy. And then 24 hours later or less, we got bad news about Call of Duty. We get bad news, people trashing this thing. Why? Why don't you go, like I said, why don't you just go trash the competition, which is doing more horrible than Xbox is? Right? Xbox is retaliating. And man, I'm telling you, as a gamer, I'm super happy they are because it's well deserved, and super happy that they're going through this journey and they are pushing back and not taking any more. Can I say this word? Shit from anybody.
That's all
the
right.
word I
That's
wanna use.
listen. We're all adults here. Listen,
Yeah.
it's the truth.
It's the truth.
Look, we got one more topic to get into, but before we do, folks, okay. As I continue, as we, Mrs. Boomstick and I, continue to grow Double Barrel Gaming, occasionally we are presented with partnerships. One of which I'm very proud to talk about today. 2 minutes, folks. You got to get this out because obviously they're an important aspect of gaming. Mrs. Boom and I have partnered up with Valari, a gaming pillow. Now, you've seen Valari on the Xbox 2. You've seen them numerous times on the Iron Lords podcast. So I'm here to show off what they sent me. And they sent me their deluxe pillow, which is amazing. Now, obviously, the camera's small. You can't really see it. I'm working with them to run a commercial that I'm going to run. It's going to be like maybe 60 seconds or so. And folks, look, I like putting myself in the spotlight. I'm very transparent. You know that the reason why I left the NYPD isn't because I, did my 21 years and I got the F out of Dodge. I was forced to retire because of a very serious back injury that I suffered. So I needed surgery. And after I recovered, I was never going to be the same cop again, which is fine because now I'm doing this. But with that said, I'm being held together by 6 screws, 2 rods, and 2 prosthetic discs in my back. And, hunching over to play video games is incredibly painful. And the first time I saw the pillow, King David and the guys over at Iron Lords, they sent me one. And I used it. And I got to tell you, I know we're partnered with them, but I want this to be clear. If I didn't believe in the product, I would not try and sell it to you, because if I'm not going to use it, I'm not going to try and sell it to you guys. It works. It works because it holds up your arms and it holds up your controller, and the whole hunch that we all know that we do if there isn't 3 pillows behind you actually goes away. And as someone that is being held together, I'm like freaking Wolverine, except I have no claws. If you look at the X-ray, you can be like, damn, that's a lot of work. Boom. Yes. And because of that work, sometimes gaming, especially if you're going to be sitting in that chair for 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, it's painful. So what I'm going to do, folks, is I'm going to drop the link in here. It is my affiliate link to the Valari pillow. And if you use the code DBG15 at checkout, you will save 15% on your order. And like I said, this is a big deal for the channel. We don't have a lot of people knocking down the door because we're still a mom and pop type of organization. But if you someone like myself who has back problems, I'm telling you, folks, like I said, I put myself out on Front Street here. I tell you that I did have a massive back surgery, and this thing actually works. So I'm going to drop the link in a second. And I'll drop what the discount code is, and listen, give it a shot. I'm telling you, they're not expensive, worth every penny. And like I said, for me personally, the one that they sent me was the deluxe version with the metal buckle. It's phenomenal. You can pick your own colors. You can design everything about the pillow, and they are going to be introducing. It's not now. They're working on it. For you to put your own logos. There will be eventually a Double Barrel Gaming logo if you want to buy and have that on your Valari gaming pillow. But like I said, you check it out. Go to the website. I'll drop it in the link, in the chat in a minute, and just let them know what you think, and let me know what you think. If you buy the pillow and you say, "Hey, Boom, it's terrible," we'll talk about it. If you tell me that, Boom, this is the greatest thing since sliced bread, of course we will talk about it. But with that said, Crispy Bomb, I do want to bring you back in here because, well, Phil Spencer has done something that no leader before him has ever done in gaming. He closed a $70 billion deal. He has, and I really want to kind of drive this point home, Crispy. When he announced in E3 of 2018 the acquisition of those 5 studios and the creation of the initiative, all you have to do is look at the work that he has put in, the studios that he has brought in to Xbox Game Studios. Prior to that E3, Crispy, they had 5 studios. Post E3 2018, folks, they have now 44 freaking studios. So under his tenure, he has brought into Xbox Game Studios, Crispy, 39 studios, and they are in possession of the greatest IP in gaming history. What? I don't think you can top that. How influential has Phil Spencer not only been to Xbox, but been to gaming?
Can I just say this? Phil is like a robot, okay?
Yes, he is.
He's a robot, but he's a gamer. This man has been a part of Microsoft a little after I was born. 30 plus years, people. Okay. He was an intern in 1988. I was born in 87. So
there you go.
This man, and keep in mind, March 2014, he was put in charge of Xbox. So right after the downfall of Xbox, they got rid of our favorite person. I'm not even going to say his name anymore.
Donnie D.
Donnie douchebag. That's all I got to say. But I mean, let's be serious here. And right before that, and this is where, like, I always say this, like, I am, like, you want to call me a stan, I'm a Gear stan.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm
right
a Spider-Man
before
stan.
that,
welcome.
Right before that, in January, they bought the IP for Gears of War. 2015, they come out with Gears of War Ultimate Edition. And ever since, I've been, like, yes, I'm back on Xbox. Like, I was debating, like, should I get a PlayStation? Should I not? And then they got Gears back. And then ever since, this man has done nothing less of incredible things that, like, hey, like, how are you going to engage people? How are you going to do something against such an entity that's killed multiple, developers or consoles or whatever, which is Sony? How do you stop them? I mean, you could just see it. Like, he is a wolf in sheep's clothing, people. Okay? He will play a Sony game, he will enjoy it and whatever else, but he's always like, man, we could do it better. We could do it better. We've done it better. Nobody gives us credit. We could do it better still. It's whatever. Like, this dude, like, 30 plus years, like, this dude, he's 55 years old. He could have retired a long time ago. You know what I mean? Like, how much of a bag being at Microsoft for that many years does he have? I mean, us doing, like, I'm 16 years at my job. Like, I have a good, like, bag. I could retire at 62 and be straight. You know what I mean? Like, imagine making twice as much, 3 times as much as what I make in retail. Like, this dude could have left a long time ago. He's a gamer. He cares about preservation. People don't believe it. But I'll tell you right now, the indie games and the things that come out on Game Pass is his preserving gaming itself and saying, you know what? We are allowed to play these games, and you could pay that minimum. Like, I mean, all of us have Netflix, Prime. Like, somebody has something. You know what I mean? Like, come on. You know what I mean? Like, if you have a subscription, it's not the worst thing in the world. I mean, I grew up when we had none of that. You know what I mean? It's actually pretty cool. Just bang, here it is. Bang, here it is. You know what I mean? This is technology. This is the world we live in now. This man has embraced it in the gaming aspect, and they are so far ahead. And when it hits, it's going to hit hard, and it's going to be just everybody's going to forget about everything else. Buying a physical game, it's dying. We see it. Walmart's about to phase it out. Best Buy, and everybody and that's where the hit pieces comes in. Yep. Oh, Xbox is getting it's PlayStation as well. If you didn't know that, they're getting rid of all physical games. Best Buy is done with physical games.
You know what? Walmart just announced that next year they're getting rid of all of the physical Xbox games as well.
See, that's where the hit piece comes from. But Best Buy is no, we're getting rid of all physical games.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like Walmart saying Xbox, I don't know. Maybe Sony's got a little bag in there too. You never know. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. But seriously,
listen, they specifically made mention of it. And again, I read the post on Twitter, so I don't know if they left out. Like Switch. I don't think you're going to get rid of physical media for Switch because it does sell. I don't know about Sony, but they definitely said Xbox. So we'll see.
Sony removed their digital media from all stores years ago. There used to be games on cards. They took that out of every store. I would say.
Well, they want you to buy from them, and they probably get an extra 10% or something. I mean, it's one of those things. You're gonna charge people $20 for a stand. I mean, I don't know, man. You know what I mean? That's stupid. Okay. You're price gouging people. That's all you're doing. Hey, I could sell you this and you're going to want it because you're going to want it standing up rather than laying down. And then you got a little, everybody's making fun of it, like paperclip to hold it up going horizontal. Come on. They're doing things that are exact opposite of pro-consumer.
Yep.
So when Phil goes and says, no, we're going to be pro-consumer. Yeah, you're not going to get every game you like, but somebody's going to like that game. And that's the damn point. That's how you preserve gaming itself. That's how you have innovation. You have somebody that's a one developer. Dude, PUBG, look what that became. Look what it became. Okay? That was one dev at the beginning. All right? People don't understand. I watch all this stuff and I say Sega innovated because they said enough's enough. We can do better than what you're doing, to Nintendo. And then Nintendo one-upped themselves with the Wii. The Wii was one of the highest selling consoles of all time next to the PlayStation 2. You know what I'm saying? And now the Switch is going there. You innovate in different ways, but that requires competition. And right now, you could say what you want, but everybody's oh, well, these new gen games, these consoles are only a certain aspect. And this is coming from regulators and all these people that we're supposed to look up to. And you go and say, yeah, but what about Nintendo? They come out with, the Switch new version, and I guarantee it's going to sell like gangbusters. That's still competition. It's the whole point. Yeah, Starfield comes out, or Halo. Look at Halo reinventing itself. Halo 3, I might actually play Halo Infinite now because having those maps. Did you see all 8 of those?
Dude, 8 maps are returning and remade from Halo 3. Neo Mental, my brother, and we played that like it was life. Dude, I am so I'm very excited.
So I'm gonna leave it this because we're getting late into the show, but Phil doesn't give up. And the one thing you can say about that man is if he's in an interview and they bring up a game or what he's playing, he's got like 10. That man plays games and he enjoys it. He's been doing it for 30 years. He literally was thrown into it, it felt like, in 2014. And he did it. And he figured it out. And now, yeah, $70 billion acquisition. You know what? He's just saying, I'm preserving games. Because you have an actual CEO like Satya who says, you know what? I buy into this. And he has somebody that's listening to him. And that's why Microsoft's doing what they're doing right now. And you're going to see all of this culmination in probably a year, because you're going to see a lot of single player games that aren't going to make a ton of money, but they're going to be good. You know, I mean, 80s aren't bad, people. Like, I don't care. Like, if it's an 80 Metacritic, if that's what you look at, Metacritic, I say Meta who, but if that's what you look at, there's been a lot in the past 3 years. I'm just saying, from Xbox. You know what I mean? Like, those are good games. You know what I mean? Like, so how can you sit here and say the lineage that he has within himself for being with this company for so long? Why would he stay here if he didn't like it? Or why would he stay here? You know what I mean? Like, Phil Dominus Maximus Aurelius Spencer, you, sir, are a gem. And I wish you could never retire, but I know it's going to happen at some point, and that's where I'll live it at.
Yeah, listen, good stuff as always, brother. You're passionate, you're informative, and what you said is all the truth, and we love it. Web Dave, let's get your hot take on Phil Dominus Maximus Aurelius Spencer. Again, he closes a $70 billion deal. Right before then, obviously, he closed a near $8 billion deal with Bethesda. They are now in possession of some of the greatest gaming IP in the history of the industry as we know it. And they're not even done, dude. Like, they are not even close to being done. He could have a Sega under his belt. Let's talk about it. I mean, the high praise, well deserved. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are that, you know, especially you got to laugh when you hear all these people that say, oh, Phil should be fired. Fire Phil. Oh, my goodness. This man has done more for gaming today than just about anybody because of his vision and what he brought to the table. And that meeting, that fateful day with Satya, when he's like, let's do this, and set him some goals. And Satya said, okay, I'm back 100%. And then the wallet that he has for the acquisitions and the things that he's done, and he's not done yet. The man is a legend. I hope he never retires, but I have a feeling he's at least going to be around through the next generation of consoles, at least. So he's an icon, and he's definitely. Can you imagine? There may not be an Xbox if Phil Spencer didn't exist.
I agree, 1,000%. Yep,
It would have been sold off to somebody or closed, and then what would have been? Oh my God! Can you imagine how much prices in games would have been? And it probably would have shut down the industry again. So there's so much to be thankful for with Phil, and just absolutely, you know, there anybody that talks about him in a negative way is absolutely stupid. There's just no really, you know, you're just coping or whatever. But there's so much that he's done for the industry, so much that he's going to continue to do, and he's not done yet. That's what's so great. And he has this roadmap, you know, that it's the things that are coming. Some things we know about, some things we got privy to because of the court cases and the mistakes and the uploads and all that kind of stuff they've been working on. And even then, you're like, oh my God, they were really wanting to do this. They were really serious about buying this. And it's like, yeah, it's serious to them. And he absolutely has a vision for where the company needs to go and needs to grow. It's not about the console sales anymore, folks. And the reason for that is because of Phil. The ecosystem is the key, and the ecosystem will be good for all of us, no matter where you play. Console, PC, handheld, mobile, everything is all going to be because of Phil's vision for Microsoft and where gaming can be. And it's because he is a true gamer that plays every single day. He plays games, whether it's to try out new builds or just to get on with his friends in Destiny. He knows what's going on. He also knows how to hold a controller. So anyway, but you know,
the slander of Jim Ryan, I love it.
Exactly. But Boom, the last thing I got to do it. I got to do it, Boom.
This is about delivering great exclusive games for you that ship on platforms where Game Pass exists.
There you go.
That fucking chuckle.
And that exactly. And that is coming soon. I'm sure we're going to hear another one of these. This is what I got for you, folks. This is where we're going next. Anyway, that's what I got, Boom. What an amazing guy. You can't say enough good things about Phil Spencer.
Yeah, no, I agree. Listen, you know what? All you could do is applaud what he has done, and I think Fuzzy, one of the most finite points about what Phil has done is he's put the consumer first, right? Like he makes you well aware that your dollar that you're spending is worth something, and you got to remember, this is the same Phil Spencer that was clowned by IGN and GameSpot and Giant Bomb and many other publications where Phil wants to reach 3 billion gamers. They can't even sell games to their Xbox people, right? We saw the articles, right? I'm not making this stuff up, folks. They said it. But boy, oh boy, have times changed. Let's talk about it, because like I said, when you consider the IP that they are now in possession of, I put it to this way: Sony has got to be worried. There's just no doubt about it. Nintendo they don't have to worry about anybody. Nintendo is going to Nintendo, and we're going to love them for it. The Switch 2 is coming out next year. Mario Wonder is going to be potentially Game of the Year. They're going to have 2 games in the running this year. There's a lot to get excited about if you're a Nintendo fan. But Sony, they're in a bit of a pickle. There's no doubt about it. But Phil Spencer, man, I mean, he's walking the walk, talking the talk, and he's not even done, dude. Let's talk about it.
Well, I think the biggest thing is kind of like what Dave even hinted at. Like when you have someone that's passionate about the actual hobby that they're trying to sell to the consumer, having a gamer at the head chair definitely helps. With things moving forward, as far as having that customer base's interests at heart, or knowing or being able to relate to your customer base and knowing how to implement those things in your business model is where he excels. I think the big thing, and I know I've probably given this brief history as far as my disdain for Xbox prior to Xbox One generation. Microsoft in PC space with Windows ME and Windows Vista was not my jam. And I didn't want to give them any chance, or didn't consider giving them a chance, considering how pissed off they made me with some of the PC shenanigans that they did back then. But all things aside, coming into the previous generation as a PS3 to PS4 owner, like some of the launch games and some of the upcoming games like Quantum Break and stuff like that, and Sunset Overdrive that I saw, but I didn't want to get the Kinect because I'm like, I don't want that gimmick, and I'm not spending the extra, what is it, like $150 or whatever that it wound up being, adding to that retail price. I was like, I'll just wait. And sure enough, that was one of the first things when he was put in charge of Xbox that he did. And I was on board at that point. It's like, all right, I got my Xbox without the Kinect. Sure, I could have used it with Rise, but it was better without the Kinect. Like all of those games that were somehow had Kinect integration just magically seemed like they didn't really miss it if you didn't have it. So from there, it started where I liked their launch lineup. I was still waiting on Drive Club, which had delays and then had its issues when it launched. found out about Forza Horizon and has been hooked ever since. But in watching the decisions that Phil has made, like making an Xbox Series X or Xbox One X, that was kind of like that stopgap for me, because I was also kind of on the fence of going back to doing PC gaming. And it's like, okay, if you could do these, HD or 4K res, assets in a game, and a lot of people were saying before that, oh, the devs won't do that because of extra time. And it's like the fact that they did, and some of the bigger ones, like, with Rockstar for not just Grand Theft Auto, but also for Red Dead Redemption, like having a lot of these big devs go back and provide the assets for that console, making things look like, not quite PC level, but for the money, close enough to PC level, or like an entry level PC that had a decent graphics card, I was happy. And yeah, I know there'll be people out there like, oh, he lied about the VR. And it's like, okay, well, we're starting to see some of the fruits of the partnership that they had with Facebook/Meta, which a lot of the reason why we didn't have VR before wasn't just the fact that it wasn't a strong enough market. It was like the people that he partnered with, which at the time and even to this day is probably still the best partner to have in that space. They just weren't up to what it was for gaming. So now we see how Meta with the Quest 3 is out, and you could do the big picture mode, even though it's just a 2D representation at this point. But that's the start of that. Finally the fruits of that partnership. So there have been things that he's done that have made the brand stronger. Like when I signed up by getting an Xbox One early in the previous generation, they had what, 5 or 6 studios. Now they got like 44.
Five studios, brother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it shows that he was able to convince the powers that be, which, look at the history of Xbox. You could tell it was like a pet project within Microsoft. It wasn't really a focus. He was able to bring the focus to the brand and get the ear of the CEO at the time, Satya Nadella, to kind of listen and be all in on the vision that he had as far as gaming moving forward. Taking some of that, subscription service that they started to do with Office and kind of mix it into gaming, but still yet offer the option to purchase. It was probably somewhat controversial at the time, but it works, and it's continuing to work. And a lot of people, oh, it's unsustainable. But if it was so unsustainable, then you wouldn't see some of the moves that Xbox or Microsoft as a whole has made to benefit Xbox in general. So a lot of the stuff that he's kind of put into play as far as for Xbox is the whole reason why Xbox is still around or still part of Microsoft.
Yep.
Like Crispy said, I don't think there would have been an Xbox if it wasn't for Phil. Like,
No, we know that for an absolute fact, dude. They were looking to sell the business.
yeah.
There's no doubt about it. Yeah.
So from a gaming standpoint, I'm glad that he was, called to the big table. I'm glad he was willing to kind of put his neck on the line with his vision. And I'm glad with a lot of the steps that they've taken. And it's only, like, in all honesty, the beginning, because there's still more that he's definitely targeting as far as to basically fulfill the Game Pass, monster that it is, because you need content. Now they have a pretty decent, fulfillment of that. But the thing is, they want to make sure that this is something that's sustainable beyond, next generation and the generation
Yes.
after that. And I think they're now hitting their stride. We're starting to see the fruits of the labor with, releases like Starfield and Forza. And we'll probably get Hellblade 2 next year, or Avowed next year, and at least a couple of other ones mixed in there. It's from a gaming standpoint, I think we're all better for what he has done for Xbox in comparison to like what you guys had mentioned earlier. If it wasn't for Xbox still being in the game, I think Sony would have gotten their way with the $80 plus for the games, because remember, it's in court documents, people. They didn't want to do 70. They wanted to do 80, 90. And people from like Take-Two and a few other, well-known publishers are like, no, don't do that. That will probably collapse the market. And it probably would have, like Dave said. So it's just, I think we're all better as far as having this competition, keeping the gaming moving forward. And yes, Sony is kind of on their back heel right now. Yes, they're in first place, but they've been, sitting fat and happy at the top of the chain and just not really doing the stuff that got them to the top of the chain regularly. Now they're looking at their old stuff that isn't even old, like 3 years old, and you're remastering something. Like, I can understand a 5 or 10-year-old game, remaster it, but a 3-year-old game, like, come on, like it. I don't know, but thanks to Phil. I'm happy with what he's doing. It's going to be rough when he leaves, but I think he's groomed his team under him, whether it's Sarah, whether it's Matt, whether it's someone else within
it's
that
definitely gonna be
organization.
Sarah. I think that she is so perfect to take over when Phil leaves. It's not even funny.
Yeah. So he's built that castle and that team, and I'm so glad that it is what it is today. And man, it's going to be a good generation going forward. And man, I just imagine what the start of the next generation is going to look like. I can't wait to see.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if Microsoft continues on the onslaught of first party, that it's going to be a ridiculous. The cadence is going to be unsustainable for places like PlayStation. They're just not going to have enough studios and enough games that they're currently working on. You got to remember, folks, Jim Ryan was in that position for 4 years. In his second year, he literally told you that you're not enough. PlayStation players are not enough. That's where the gas game stuff started coming from. So now he leaves. You think it's that easy just to snap a finger and get people working on stuff? Their games are incredibly detailed. Spider-Man looks freaking ridiculous. It looks like a freaking movie. That takes years. 4, 5, 6, 7 years to produce a quality God of War, Horizon, Uncharted type of experience. That movie experience that you know and love that you expect from their games takes years, and it's costing even more. Their games are $200 million investments. That's a fact. They're again. I'll say it one more time. Sony's in trouble. Before we get everyone out of here, and before I read the last super chats, Crazy Lou Gaming, we got to get to you, brother. Let's talk about it. Phil Spencer really has done some amazing things. I don't think he's even close to being done yet, to be honest with you. I think that there are still at least another giant publisher potentially on the horizon in Japan. Let's get your hot take on what Phil has done so far.
Man, Mr. BoomStick, Phil has done an amazing job. I mean, he brought Xbox back from when it was down. I mean, like we said, last generation was awful. It did horrible, but he sat down, he showed what it can do, and he demonstrated it in this generation. I mean, he's done such an amazing job buying the best studios and publishers out there. He really, really, really hit the mark. But he needs to get 2 more things before, he finishes his journey, before he does that famous retiring stunt that they call about, right? He needs to get a Japanese studio, right? As we mentioned before. And last but not least, before that, though, they need to get WB. That's what they need to get. I'm down for that. I'm all the way for that, because why? They need to make movies, they need to make TV shows, they need to get fighting in there, they need to get, superheroes in there too. Oh man, they gotta go for that. That's what Phil's gotta go for before they go out and purchase it over there in Japan. But hey, other than that, he's done an amazing job. I'm really proud of what they have done. It's super awesome. Did fantastic. Because of him, we're saving money, which is really important, especially during these times that each day is just getting harder and harder with the day, with living, going to supermarkets, stuff like that. It really is helping us saving money, getting games on Game Pass day one, also getting us a ton of games that we are trying out and enjoying. I mean, I'm even playing Power Wash, something I never thought I would be playing. I'm playing it, and that's thanks to Game Pass. Same thing with Vampire Survivor. I mean, it's just incredible everything he's done. And hey, man, really, oh my God, just can't wait for him to announce what he's going after next.
Yeah, and we're going to hear about it. I have a funny feeling that January of next year we're going to hear something big. They'll end the year on a high note. They're going to have a couple of games in the Game of the Year conversation with Hi-Fi Rush, Starfield, obviously, and in the driving aspect of it. There's no doubt that Forza is going to be there at some point. Going to win driving Game of the Year. It's just no better choice. They're just not. But listen, let me catch up on the super chats here. We have Devastator 2000 drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, I can see Microsoft buying Sega eventually. XD, yeah, me too. I absolutely think that's the play. Highlander 001 drops an additional very generous $5 super chat and says, the ABK deal shows Sony's the problem with paying for third-party exclusives. Being someone with deep pockets can come in and buy that developer. Absolutely. Their marketing deals, especially with Call of Duty, not having that, I am telling you, folks, you think that it's small, it's a small deal. When Microsoft can slap that on a box and sell it to the casuals, you are going to see a swing in who is selling more consoles. I'm telling you. Drawn TJ drops in a very generous additional $2 super chat and says the PS5 Slim is a router sold separately. Oh my God, the slander. Decado drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, let's not forget this was the third time Microsoft attempted to acquire Blizzard. Phil accomplished something that they have not been able to do before. That's a tremendous point, dude. Drawn TJ drops an additional $5 super chat and says, is it suspicious that Phil Spencer met with Sega CEO the day of the deal closing? No, I don't think that's a coincidence at all. I think that there is something to there. There's a partnership. Again, I don't know if it's an outright acquisition like Activision, Blizzard King. What this could be for Microsoft in Japan is a partnership where they have 49% invested into Sega, giving them the ability to make the calls on the games that they're going to put out. I don't know how they're going to do it. That's the way it's been explained to me. It makes more sense that way. And of course, last and no way least, Gerald Mack drops a very generous additional $5 super chat and says, this is the show you better than I call to tell a generation for Xbox gaming on a trolling. My bad, $1 trillion level. It looks different. Xbox World Order. Yeah, I see what you did there. Joe Mack, king of the graybeards. Thank you for the generosity, brother. Super appreciate that. Let's get everyone out of here. The show ran a little bit longer than normally. This is like a 90-minute show, but we did have a special guest here. And Crispy Bomb, brother, thanks so much for joining us. Always when we have to talk to slander, you seem to show up. You're like a genie. You just run like this, and there he is. Crispy Bomb. Sell your brand, brother. Where can people find you on other shows sometimes? And more importantly, where can people find you on social media if they want to strike up a conversation about the Chiefs who are in first place?
Yeah, well, everybody else is 2-2 or below, so I don't know.
Steelers 3-2. Yes, we're still in first place, which is great. We beat up on the Ravens the other day, and we had a bye. So hopefully,
I got to say something. Mike Tomlin, he knows how to get a team together. So
he does. We like Mike Tomlin.
Yeah, but at Chris Baum on Twitter, Chris Baum 28 Xbox Live, and you can find me on Breakfast with Boom 10 a.m. Fridays, and sometimes Game Beyond the Box 7 p.m. Sundays. Other than that, you never know where I'll show up. Just like now. We'll see you then.
Super appreciate that. Shout out to Metal Face Doom. I didn't get a chance to welcome everybody. Jason Portillo, and who I saw, Edward Lafferty. Welcome. Scott Free, welcome. I try to get to everybody. Sometimes it's very daunting. We have so many people, the chat goes so quickly, but big thank you to everyone that tuned in. Big shout out to all of the super chats. They help more than you know, folks. We're doing the big giveaway, and the next one is coming up in a couple of weeks. Mrs. Boom's birthday bash. It's going to be the first Friday in November. We're giving away $500. That's right, folks. Same thing as we did a couple of weeks ago. We're giving another $500 away for Mrs. Boom's birthday bash. 10 $50 gift cards. We'll go into that in a second. But Web Dave, sell your brand, brother. Talk about the show that you had last night, where people can subscribe each and every Sunday to hear you on the Gamers Council, I should say, with Retri from Game Pass _daily, and more importantly, about the person, or should I say gamer, that just sat down and you interviewed. That's up now for everyone to check out. Talk about it.
Thanks, Boom. Really appreciate you having me on. I love being here and talking games with everybody. This week's episode that dropped today is with Sean 786. The TTS with Dirt Riggedy that he does is a pretty amazing show. They're definitely a hardcore Xbox, so ponies need not apply. But yeah, it was a good interview. Found out a lot more about him and his history, and he's a cool cat. So definitely want to drop in. It's got almost 400 views on it so far, and it just dropped this morning. So if you get a chance, jump on over, give it a like. And last night's show, we had Hargeet, Johnny, we had Everborn, and we just let them roll. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
well, the one thing you don't want to get caught on with when it comes to Dirt Griggity is the POS of the week, which is my favorite segment. My God, I always laugh. It's great.
Exactly.
Good stuff, Dave, as always. Fuzzy Belvedere, sell your brand, brother. I know you've been doing some content when it comes to, of course, Forza Motorsport, and why wouldn't you? You are the most professional driver of all of us, especially of me. Where can people subscribe to your YouTube channel? Let's get you past 1K. And more importantly, where can people find you on social media?
Just as always, thank you for having me on. Always awesome having Crispy show up with us as well. Love being on here with Dave and Crazy Lewis, as well as you, Boom. Thanks to everybody in the chat for interacting with us. We greatly appreciate you checking us out. For those that want to hear my rambles and rants on anything gaming right now, specifically Forza, just follow me on the app formerly known as Twitter at Fuzzy_Belvedere. You can also find me later on tonight on FSP on Fun Speculations channel, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tonight. And then look forward to seeing you guys hopefully right here at 10 a.m. on Friday for Breakfast with Boom. Look forward to seeing you there.
Thank you very much. And representing the world and his hand, the Xbox International representative known as Crazy Lou Gaming, folks. Listen, love to have him here each and every week. If you're not subscribed to the Xbox International podcast, you're doing it all wrong. Sell the brand, my brother. Where can people check that out and subscribe? And more importantly, tell the Spanish-speaking community about the Espanol version of the Xbox International podcast.
Oh man, like always, Mr. BoomStick, thank you for having me on here. Like always, hanging out with you guys on Monday, noonish at the Xbox Launch Special. You can find me on Twitter, Crazy Louis Gaming, where I say good morning, do all sorts of crazy stuff. On Wednesdays, Xbox International Podcast over there on the YouTube channel at 7 p.m. ET with Sour Blow, Silent Cypher, and the Big Boom. And on Fridays, sometimes, which I'm going to try to go there more often, Xbox International Podcast en Español, 7 p.m. ET with Eternal Sedai and ASCAP Gaming.
Well, listen, great to have you here each and every week. Again, thank you to the near 700 people that we had here today. It's tremendous. If you're finding the channel for the first time, please, folks, consider subscribing. We do this Monday through Friday, 5 different shows, 5 different panels, all great content, and we never hate monger or use clickbait to sell you on the program. We come here, we give the smoke where it's necessary. Sometimes Microsoft gets the smoke. A lot of the times it's Sony because, well, Sony kind of has put themselves out in Front Street. And what could you say about Nintendo? Not really much other than, man, that seal of approval has been rocking since the 80s, and they continue to deliver on great games. And of course, folks, I'm going to close out the show with something that's incredibly important to me. Hopefully one day it'll be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids, and he would say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, Craig, I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. And we'll see you next week on the newest episode of the Xbox Lunch Break Special.